and welcome back to Empowering You. Today, we are with Jen from Harbor Humane. She's going to talk with us about how it is working in that type of environment and how they have different what's the word that I want to use? They have different experiences come through the door, right? They have fun things that happen on fun days. They have stressors that come through the door. They have high anxiety days. You just a whole bunch of different things that I think a lot of us would never think about that happens. And so I have invited her to come on the show because I just think this is a world that some of us think is one way. Just a fun, let's go in and hang out with the animals and pet them and feed them and, which I think would be very fun. But I really think there's another side that we just don't think about or we just don't realize really happens, with the 24/7 care or, maybe the emergencies that take place, which I personally have never thought about. So I again have asked her to come on and share just different experiences that maybe she has witnessed with being the executive director, which I think she has been a part of that for many, many years. Is that right, Jen? How long have you been a part of?
Yeah, so I've been with Harbor Humane for it'll be 9 years this fall, and before that I was at Humane Society of West Michigan for 14 years. So I've been in animal welfare for since really 2002.
Wow. So 2002. So you've definitely seen a lot of different things take place.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start with something fun, right? Like I don't want to start off sad. So let's start with like a fun story that you might have that really sticks out to you and that, it would be a reason why you would just love your job and really enjoy it and a story that just sticks out and you really remember.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many that I could choose from. But really, the ones that get me are kind of the long-term animals that have been with us that finally get adopted. One that comes to mind is a dog we had named Wrangler. He was a black bitty, came in as a stray, was having a really just hard time at the shelter and shelter life. We were able to get him into a foster home, and the foster was doing really well with him, but didn't want to adopt him. Um, and she had him for probably over a year and then did decide to adopt him. And it was just an amazing moment for us, for Wrangler, to know that he had found his forever home. And we see that a lot with our long-term fosters, that kind of the fosters just become so attached that they keep them. I'm not saying that that's our motive with it, but it definitely is nice when we see them get to stay at the home that they've come accustomed to. Anytime an animal goes home or goes back to their owner if they were lost, it's really a success and always a time to celebrate.
Yeah, yeah. And so when it comes to the staff, and overseeing all of that, there's a lot that goes on there. So you have the happy stories and you have the stressful stories. And so how is it with the mental health and juggling that? And again, I think that is something that a lot of people do not think about, which is why I wanted you to come on the show and talk about that a little bit. So there is the fun side, which is the story that you just shared. What is like a stressful day, which I could be wrong about this, but I feel like a stressful is that's what is happening daily there, right? And I could be wrong, but I think that's what is daily there. It's very stressful and intense because of all the animals and things that are coming in and out and just the situations. But can we just talk a little bit about that and maybe the mental health that you see on your staff with that?
Yeah, I mean, compassion fatigue, burnout are huge problems within animal welfare. And, you see the best and worst of humanity on any given day. And with us, because we do take in strays for the county, we never know what our day is going to be like. We're not, our intake's not managed. I mean, for owner surrenders and transfers, we schedule those. But at any given time, stray animals can show up, a box of kittens can show up, we can get called out to a cruelty case. We do see a lot of cruelty neglect cases end up here because of having that county contract. So there's a lot of unknowns when you go into the day. Um, You never know what your day is going to be like, and that can be really difficult for some people to manage. I find in this career, I mean, people either thrive in it or they can't handle it and have to get out. The people that thrive in it, I think, they have a good combination of both kind of compassion and being able to think things through and take a step back and breathe. Um, but it is hard because you can't ever plan that any day is going to go a certain way because there's so many unknowns
Yeah.
that are always just waiting to happen.
Yeah. So how do you, we'll just go with like a cruelty case, right? How do you deal with your staff, right? And what I'm trying to say is like you go out, you get that call. I'm sure seeing that, I'm not sure if there's interactions with the owners or not. I'm not sure how that works, but how do you prepare your staff, right? And then how when you come back, like how do you guys decompress from that? How do we work through that?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one that kind of comes to mind is we were involved in a seizure. It was actually a rescue that had turned into a hoarding case, actually in Muskegon. And so we came and helped as a support shelter. There was six of our staff that went because it was kind of top secret. We didn't want the owner of the rescue to find out that this was happening. They basically didn't know what was going to happen until we got in the van and I told them. And so, we were prepared as we could be. That day we saw, I think there was a total of 86 dogs in a very, very tiny house and backyard shed. For me in my, 20 plus years, it was one of the more horrific things that I've experienced. And I know it was for our staff too. And we really kind of powered through that day. The owner was present. We all knew her because of interactions with her rescue, so that kind of added an extra layer to it. For us, though, there was a sense of relief because we knew that this had been an ongoing problem, and to finally see like justice catch up with her and that there was hope for these dogs um, was somewhat satisfying. So we took all the dogs back to the shelter, we triaged them. Harbor ended up taking over 20 of them, and then several of them broke with distemper. So then these puppies that we rescued, we had to watch, you know, die basically or be euthanized. And that whole experience was really traumatic for our staff to go through. The trial took a really long time to get done. I mean, there were just many factors of it being kind of pushed out again and again and again. And so we finally got resolution with, she got convicted. And, before that happened, we did get custody of the animals and were able to adopt them out. So we were able to celebrate in that. Um, but I think, all of our staff were very open about our mental health. We try to make this place a safe space. We understand that, mental health is going to play a part in every part of our day. And we want to support our staff as best we can with that, whether it's through, we offer an EAP. We have a really skilled HR person who's always willing to, talk to people. Our, managers and leadership staff is always willing to have conversations. And we really tried just to make it a family in the sense of we're all in this together. We go through the same things. We experience the same highs and lows in different ways. But to recognize that and to make it not be a shameful thing or a bad thing. I'm very open about my mental health and my struggles, and so I really put that out for our team. And I think we try to make it as safe a space we can to celebrate the wins, to cry about, the losses that we have, but overall to realize that each and every day we're making a difference, and that's something that we can feel good about.
I appreciate you sharing, the mental health part about you personally, because even in a workspace, being the executive director and sharing that with your team, not a lot of people would do that, right? And so just being able to do that, speaks a lot about you. And so, thank you for doing that, and thank you for giving that space and holding that space for your staff, because that's not easy to do. And it's not easy to share that with people, let alone your staff, but um, yeah, thank you for doing that. Yeah, that's probably good bonding with your team, right? They probably feel very safe with you. So that's very, again, someone, me personally, having my own issues, I know that that is good to feel safe, especially with your supervisor. That's a
Right.
good relationship, right? Um, so going back to what you were just talking about, let's talk about that for a second. A house with 80, you said 86 dogs? 86 dogs, right? So were all these dogs friendly dogs? Were all these dogs friendly dogs?
Um, I would say to a point, I mean, there were several that were under socialized. She had been
Yes.
transferring them in from out of state.
Yeah.
So there were several of them. Like I said, I mean, there was about 25 of them that were in a shed that had no light, no natural light. They were in the dark. Um, I was one of the first ones that walked into that shed and still have very visceral memories of that, as does the rest of the staff that experienced it. Um, and I mean, through all the animals that we see, the one thing that we see again and again is resilience. These animals who get treated so horribly sometimes and are the victims of just unimaginable cruelty and neglect, still seek love and attention. And to watch an animal come into our care that has been so broken, and watch them heal and watch them still love people. I mean, it says so much about them and it teaches us, so much about ourselves and the power of forgiveness and just, watching them recover. I mean, we do that with them, right?
Um, that's funny. My base company is Slaying Resilience. So you saying resilience, I love that. When you went into the shed, how do you guys get those dogs? Like, what is the procedure with that? Like, that has to be like or the dog's aggressive. I'm guessing because they're scared and not because they're aggressive. I shouldn't, that wasn't the good wording. I apologize. I don't mean aggressive like mean, but like protective mode, right? So they don't know you. They've not had interactions
Yeah.
with people, so they're protecting themselves, right? So how do you get to them, um, and get them to understand? I mean, I don't know. Like how do you do that?
I think, that whole day for them was pretty terrifying. They hadn't had much social interaction. We were lucky we were in a fenced in area, so some of them, literally ran out of the cage, and then we kind of had to be patient and use food, use peanut butter, use different things, to try to make it as, you know least traumatic as we could. In order to, because then we had to get them in a cage, we had to then bring them to a shelter, get them vaccinated. I mean, they went through like several steps that day. Um, and some of them were very sick, during all of this. So it was a lot of patience from our staff. It was, just kind of back to the basics of, just exuding that calmness and hoping that they can sense that in us, that we're here to help and not hurt. And it was pretty amazing to see. Most of them, were just so starved for attention that they really just, kind of melted in our arms. And I see that a lot. Like, I have been lucky enough to travel to different shelters and, states down south where it's hundreds of dogs that are, in outside kennels at shelters. I mean, they're underfunded, they're over capacity, they're understaffed. And these animals, I mean, you're pulling them out to do, heartworm tests and give them vaccines, not fun things, but they're so wanting just that human touch that they're fine that you're doing that because, hey, there's a human and they're talking to me and they're loving me and they're petting me. And they just really end up kind of melting in your arms.
Yes, yeah. interesting that you're talking about loving it and just wanting that attention because just a couple weeks ago, as you know, I've been looking for a cat for my son. And so we came down and we were looking to see if there was any that he found that he might like rehumane. And there was a cat, New Moon, I believe is what the name was there, of his older cat that he had. And so he was
Mhm.
like, this is the one. This is the one. And I'm like, really? This is the one you want? And there was like, I think the cat came from a rescue. So
Okay.
there wasn't a lot of information on the cat. And I'm like, oh no. I was nervous because I'm like, I know what Remy wants to do with this cat. Like in his mind, this is his baby, and he's just gonna take it and carry it around and hold it and love it, and that's what he's gonna do. And I know this cat is probably like, you're not touching me. Like that's not what you're
Mhm.
gonna do with me. And so I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work, but we'll see. And so I'm trying to tell him, look, this cat is not a kitten, right? So it's older, and it's not used to people, so you're gonna have to give it a little bit. You gotta give it time to get used to. Okay, I will. Okay. So I get the cat, we get it home, Remy has it all, like his bed set up and everything, and all right. We spend time with it in the room. The next day we come in, the cat is so loving. Like the cat, if like you can pick the cat up, hold it, love it, carry it around. Remy literally picks the cat up and holds it like this, like a baby, right? Like holds it like this
Yeah.
and carries it around the house with him, right? Puts it on the bed. The cat will just sit there, right? But the cat is very skittish. So if someone comes in the room that wasn't in the room when it runs, okay?
Hmm.
Um, and it will not come out at daytime. It hides. So,
Oh.
and we have cameras, like in Remy's room and different things like that. And so at nighttime, you can watch the cat just like take over the house. Like he just takes over the house, like he owns the house, just going all over the place. And I'm like, you would think that this cat just like really is the owner of the house because no one else lives here. Like we're all sleeping, right? And the cat just
Mhm.
like not a care in the world, just all over the couch, then in every room you can see like it pop in and out of every room and you'll see the neck just like look around the corner to see if there's
Mhm.
anyone there. And if not, here it comes. I mean, it is so cute. And then last night, for the first time, here it is. I woke up to it just sitting right next to me, looking at me. And I'm like, okay, now you've made it to the point where you'll get on the bed.
Right.
And I'm like just like holding it, and it got real next to me, and it loves like his belly rubbed, and so I'll
Hmm.
rub its belly. But to get the cat out of the hiding place, it likes to play a game of you have to rub my head, and when you do, I'll push, like he'll take his back paws and push closer to you and then stop. You got to
Hmm.
rub his head and then he pushes closer. I'm like, this is fun. But so I understand what you mean by them just wanting love and attention, but they're
Hmm.
afraid. They're like afraid
Hmm.
to come out. And so they have that defense stuff. I don't know how you just don't take in all those. My house would be crazy. I would just be like, I'll just take them all home with me. That's what I'm gonna do.
Right. Right.
Um, what do you have like a certain story when it comes to like an emergency?
Um, we had well, actually a couple of weeks ago we had gotten a call out of county from another shelter actually that needed help with they had a bunch of kittens that were in a house with some moms, and they weren't able to take them into their shelter. So we made arrangements to take them in, and they showed up on a Saturday at 4 o'clock, which we close at 4:30, and there was literally a box of 26 kittens and five moms. And what we didn't know before we agreed to take them is that the kittens all had upper respiratory infections, that only one of the five cats was actually nursing. Two of the moms had mastitis. The other two just had no interest in the kittens. So our foster coordinator got to work and within hours found, foster homes for not only the mom and babies, but foster homes for kittens that had to be bottle fed, foster homes for kittens who were kind of in that in between stage of weaning. And it was an amazing time to see our team just really, come together and be able to get those cats out, get them into homes, and get them on the road to recovery. And they were, it was kind of touch and go. And we did lose one, but that's pretty amazing given the circumstances that they came from, and then also just the way they came to us. So it was one of those things, where we agreed to help. We didn't necessarily fully understand what we were getting ourselves into, and that tends to happen, quite a bit, because sometimes people that need help will maybe underplay, what's really going on, and then you get to the situation and you realize like it's a lot more intense than you thought it was going to be, and so you have to adjust course and find new solutions. And I mean, we are so lucky here to have this amazing team that, I mean, they're relentless and they do it because they love what they do. Animal sheltering doesn't pay well at all. And so, they're not doing it to get rich. They're not doing it to make shareholders rich. I mean, that's not how we operate. We're a nonprofit and there's pure passion. And that's something I don't think you get to see a lot in workplaces.
Yeah, yeah. Um, right. That is, and so how, being a nonprofit, I know that that goes only so far. How do you guys get like the care for the animals, right? Like how do you get that? How do you get the food? How do you get um what the shots? All of that that goes into that. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I mean, we have an amazing community that when we ask for help, they deliver. I mean, last week we put out a call for, we have a feral colony in back. We had run out of cat food. We put a call out, and the next day, I think we had like 50 bags of food delivered by, 50 different people. So anytime that we've really found ourselves in a place of need, we put that call out to the community and they always answer. Um, we do get some funding from the county government, because of our stray contract, but it's only about 13 to 14% of our annual budget. While we take in, 64% of the animals that come in are strays. Um, so, although we do get some money, it doesn't necessarily cover everything. So the rest is really made up by, individuals who care about what we're doing and give personal donations. There's fees for service. So there's, adoption fees, help offset some of the costs that we have to pay. We do vaccine clinics, we do fundraisers. I mean, we are always looking for ways to try to bring in more income. And once again, it's not to make my pockets richer or any of our, even though, I mean, I wish I, could pay our employees a lot more. It's all to care for these animals. And I think that's something just amazing to watch. I mean, animals really have a way of convincing people to care about them and to give to that cause. And so we've been really lucky and fortunate in that way.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Two questions. I have ADHD, so my brain always is popping with questions, and I'm like, wait, stay focused here. Working in the animal environment, do we have animals? I would have them running wild, but that like therapeutic, right? Like, do we have like a dog or a cat or something that all the staff loves and we can just let roam?
We do. We have a cat named Shawarma, and he was originally part of our feral cat colony. And Shawarma decided he wanted to start coming inside a little bit. And so now he has free roam of the place. He's indoor and outdoor. In the summer, he tends to be a little more outdoor than indoor. And he just celebrated his 11th birthday, and he is a staff favorite. It's very common to find, the break room is actually his favorite place to hang out, especially during lunch. There's so many pictures that people have of him, stealing their food or, giving them cuddles and different things like that. I mean, I think he's definitely our mascot, and one that, he's every morning when I come in, he's either waiting to come into the building or waiting to go out. But he's there to greet everyone, and he's just a really funny cat. And He never was that feral, I think, to begin with, but we joke because we'll find him with, a dead mouse or something like that outside, and we're pretty sure that he doesn't kill those, that he just finds them and then like, he needs his street cred and needs to make it look like he's still playing the game of a feral cat, but he's pretty domesticated.
Oh, that's fun. What is like the like I don't want to say wildest, but like the craziest animal that you guys have had brought into you?
We had this was a few years ago. There was a gentleman, I believe in, I want to say it was Grand Haven, who lived in an apartment. He was an elderly gentleman and he had about 35 chickens living on his deck. So you can't have that. That's too many. And I don't think you can have chickens on your deck in your apartment anyways. So the animal control officers had to gather them all up and bring them to us. And then it turned out, I want to say like 10 of them were actually roosters, which are much harder to place than hens. And so this was over Christmas break. We had a room that was just full of chickens. And there's some staff that is a little bit afraid of birds. So it was an interesting time for them. We got all the hens adopted, and then, we ended up with the 10 roosters left and had to get pretty creative in advertising and trying to find them homes. And luckily everyone did find a home finally. But yeah, the farm animals kind of always throw us for a loop. We had for a while too, like a goat that would show up with two dogs that he lived with. And by the time it happened, like the third time, we knew who the owner was, and was like, okay, like your goat and dogs are here again. But they would just kind of sneak out, wander, they'd throw them in our kennel, owner would come and pick them up. But yeah, we've had goats, we've had turkeys. Um, we had a stray sugar glider come in the other day. I mean, yeah, we mostly see dogs and cats, but we do get the occasional outlier, which always makes it interesting. Keeps it interesting for sure.
I'm sure. What about like snakes or like those lizards or yeah, I don't I mean like what how do we do those?
Yeah, we've had very few snakes and lizards come in. Typically, when we do, we're lucky to have a few staff members that have setups at their homes for those because we definitely don't have the equipment needed to take care of them. So usually they'll take them and foster them, and typically we'll surrender them or give them to like a reptile rescue or something like that. At my previous humane society that I worked at, we had a sulcata tortoise come in. And so those are not only grow to be huge, but also live to be like 150 plus years old. A college student had gotten it, didn't really realize what was involved in taking care of it. So it lived actually in one of our cattery habitats for about a week or two until we were able to get it to a reptile sanctuary. And so those are always just really interesting stories. I think, a lot of times people get things like reptiles, or we see a lot too with like birds, like parrots, cockatiels, things like that, that live for a really long time and they don't necessarily understand the commitment that's involved with that.
Interesting. I love that. So what is do you guys have like an event or something big happening that maybe I can share with the audience so help get some fundraising going or yeah, something like that happening? I
Yeah,
thought
we have
I
our,
saw
our
something
we do. We have our biggest fundraiser of the year coming up, July 17th. It's Owls for Tails.
that's what I was.
And that, yeah, it takes place at the shops at West Shore in Holland, Michigan. And it's a really awesome night full of craft beer, great food, great auction items. We have activities, crafts for families and kids. We have a wonderful band, JP and the Energy playing, and then of course we bring puppies, to get your pictures with and cuddles with. And it's just a really fun night to get together with the community, celebrate all that Harbor does, and just celebrate animals in general because they are just, such an integral part of our lives. So it's nice to be with people that share that philosophy.
I love that. And when was that again?
July 17th from 6 to 10 p.m.
And where?
The shops at West Shore.
Oh, I love that. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. And so if anyone has any questions or maybe want to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Yeah, they can either go to our website, harborhumane.org, or they can always email me, executive@harborhumane.org.
Love that, love that. Well, Jen, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and just share a little bit about what you do, and a little bit about Harbor Humane and like what that is in a day-to-day life. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for taking the time to listen. And I hope everyone has an amazing day. And I look forward to talking with everyone tomorrow. Until next time, be safe, everyone.